Chicago, it's no mystery that Chevy is your best bet for the unpredictable spring ahead. The snow and ice may be gone, but the spring plot thickens at your local Chevy dealer, where you'll find the true MO of SUVs. If you're thinking about taking all the twists and turns in a new Chevy, you're not alone. The right vehicle makes all the difference when it comes to safety, confidence, and comfort on the road. You saw the Chevy lineup at the auto show. Now it's time to see which one you can identify. And don't worry, they can't see you behind the glass. Need the power and durability of a Silverado? The all-weather confidence of an Equinox or Blazer? The spacious comfort of a Traverse, Tahoe, or Suburban? Or the sporty city-friendly Trax? Your local Chevy dealer has exactly what you need to solve the case like a pro. So don't wait. Head to ChevyDriveChicago.com today. Browse the newest models, special offers, locate your nearest Chevy dealer, and start shopping online. Things are warming up out there, and you need a vehicle you can trust. Find yours now at ChevyDriveChicago.com. Chevy, together, let's drive.
Brews and banter.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, Roman. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hello, Nicole.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Introduce yourself and we'll go from there.
I'm Nicole Lawrence. I'm a therapist with Illuminate Counseling Creative Arts Therapy right here in Baldwinsville. I have to read a disclaimer.
Yeah.
So this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. This does not take the place of seeing a trained mental health professional. None of the information provided is a substitute for professional mental health diagnosis or treatment. If anyone is thinking about seeking mental health care, Psychology Today is a great resource to find a licensed professional in your area.
And we encourage you to do so, Roman.
I know. Every time I meet with you, I need a therapy.
After we're done, right? So, but thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Nicole,
Thanks
so
for having
welcome.
me.
We share a mutual friend in Coach Bruce.
Yes,
So he had
absolutely.
mentioned that. So I know that it's sometimes difficult for people that maybe don't do this a lot to, for a comfort level, but we're idiots, so you're better than us.
Well, I'm in
Just
good
know
company.
But
And I keep getting messages. Sometimes when we have guests, we forget to mention what beer we're drinking. And they're like, what were you guys having that day? So
you want to
we are having,
ooh, look at the marketing.
face
That's
it?
perfect, man.
we're having Jack's Abbey Craft Lager. It's a blood orange wheat. And what's the ABV on this?
It's that one, Roman.
6.5?
No, that's what I thought. Yeah. No, it's that. I don't know.
It's not?
I don't know. Something like that.
It's good for you. Just have it.
It is, it's right here. 4%, right? Is that what this is?
Yeah, 4%.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is like,
That's
you could
nothing.
have like 10 of these and still drive.
There you go.
This is just a warm-up.
Yeah, this is like appetizer beer. But I know we've had lots of these, craft beers and these blood orange. I know you mentioned Lunkenheimer, and
Yeah.
I mean you can see our so we used to have a beer vault that was an actual refrigerator. It was just a beer vault, but it was much bigger. So now we get stuck cycling through that because it's much smaller.
Downgraded to the mini fridge.
Well, it'll go through quicker, but then we got to buy more often.
Is that a problem or is that like a perk?
It's an inconvenience. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It could
So-
also be a benefit.
Cheers, Roman.
Well, cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
That is blood orange.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
So, Nicole, you originally from Baldwinsville?
I am. Yep. I'm originally from Baldwinsville. I graduated in 2005 and went to SUNY Oneonta for my undergraduate and then went to Nazareth College for my graduate work.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Yep. So I've been in the profession and working in mental health since 2011 and just opened my own private practice in like October, November of this past in 2024.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So still a rookie.
You got it.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about your company name?
Yeah, Illuminate Counseling Creative Arts Therapy. And that is not my first choice or my second, but New York State insisted that that's what it would be. So they insist that you have to have creative arts therapy as part of your title.
So that's LCAT?
Yeah,
Okay.
very good. Yes, licensed creative art therapist.
Huh? Very good, Roman. Yeah.
I'm impressed, really. And they said that I couldn't have the title illuminated because I was misrepresenting myself because I'm not illuminated. Yes.
That's
So
good to know.
It is, yeah. So they pretty much told me this is what your title needs to be, and that's fine. I don't really adhere to creative arts therapy as much anymore, not since only a few years out of graduate school. But licensed creative arts therapist, it's like you're trained just as any other therapist would be. And then on top of it, you have like creativity that you can use to kind of like bridge nonverbal individuals. And a lot of times younger kids really respond well to the like, creative piece of it. But mostly, I do mostly like talk therapy. And my passion is like growth and building capacity, because I believe that the mental health field and the world that we live in right now is a lot of, we do a lot of coping and a lot of like, I call it like cope and hope, like, oh, I just hope we get through it. Whereas I really think that we should be pushing more to make people feel like it's okay to not feel good. And it's okay to be uncomfortable and have uncomfortable feelings. And then you work through that, and that's growth. So instead of saying, oh, I'm uncomfortable, or I'm anxious, so I can't do this. No, you should continue to do it. And then you should prove to yourself, like, look what I could do. And I've built that capacity, and I can do more from here.
Sure. And so you're open to all ages, and
I try and keep it like 13 and above. I've worked with kids almost my entire career, but switching over to private practice, I've more wanted to get more towards working with adults.
okay.
Go ahead.
And you're local here in Baldwinsville now?
Yep, I'm on Downer Street. I think the address is
okay.
It's terrible.
That's okay.
It starts with 22 something.
2272.
There you go.
Is it?
Yeah.
Thank you for.
It's like, sounds like
It will be in the description.
It's in a chiropractor. So I'm up above a chiropractor on Downer Street, right next to the dollar store. So Aldi's, dollar store, chiropractor.
We've had several guests now who we've interviewed that transitioned from corporate to now self-employed.
Yeah.
And it's a emotional transition.
Is that where you're coming from? Were you in corporate before this?
Yep.
Okay.
So I worked with an agency. That my first job was called Whatever It Takes. The program was called Whatever It Takes, and I was a therapist in it. And it was in-home therapy. So kids, you know what residential treatment is?
Yeah.
So kids coming out of residential treatment early to come into our program. And then I would integrate them back into the community and back into their homes and back into the school districts. And so when they said whatever it takes, I was there at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock at night, in their homes, in their communities, in their schools, doing whatever it takes.
Right.
And then I got pregnant.
Yep.
And that was not conducive to having a newborn.
Yeah.
So switched out of that, and I did compliance for mental health for a number of years. So I made sure that the agency I was working for was serving the individuals to like the highest quality, making sure that they got what they needed from our therapist. And then I decided I needed to get back into it. So I went into one of the hardest positions. I worked in a school, which is like an alternative school. It's called the day treatment, where kids go there specifically when they have a mental health diagnosis and they couldn't stick it out in general ed for a number of different reasons. It's really crisis heavy.
Yeah.
Running out of the building.
Those kids, so that they're not, those people that you were treating then are not in a public school system?
So they come from their public home district and they're put into BOCES. And within the BOCES is called the day treatment. So it's typically 8 kids per classroom with a range of ages. The kids that I saw were, I believe, 9 to 11 was my classroom. My office was right integrated into the classroom. So I did daily group therapy, I did weekly individual therapy, and then I did a lot of crisis work, like take it out, like running out, like trying to beat them to the road.
Yeah.
That's serious training right there.
Yes.
I have a friend, he's a social studies teacher, and he taught at a school where when kids get kicked out of public school, this is your last chance.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And that's it. And he was, there are times he's like, I'm a little concerned going to work today.
Yeah. So how does that work? I mean, for you or your friend, but how does it work for safety? Like, I mean, what are you allowed to do? Like, how do you protect yourself in the event that maybe you get someone who's
Yeah.
not the most savory individual.
What a nice way to put it.
I'm hungry.
So relied heavily on the SRO. We had a really, really good SRO in the school, nicest guy. And so I would go to him a lot if something were happening, like he would come and he would be in the office with me. If it became that much of a safety issue, he would come into the office with me. He had a very cool, calm, presence, whereas sometimes I was like, oh, what am I doing? And a lot of times, I did dodge a couple chairs. I've caught one before so they could throw it at somebody else. But I think the idea that I had was well, if I can get through this, then private practice, I'll be okay. I'll have a really good base to jump off from. But I remember specifically, it was my birthday, and I'm not a person that likes to share that kind of stuff. And I especially don't like it to share it with the kids because sometimes it throws them off. Right. So I didn't tell anybody. And you're supposed to have a cell phone with you at all times. I left my cell phone on the desk, of course. And this one boy was having a hard time, and he took off from the classroom and went right out the front door, and I went after him. I didn't have my cell phone with me. And the road that we were on is 45 miles an hour, and it's a passing lane. I mean, so not safe. Yeah. And he was making a beeline for the road, and I was like, I looked at him, I go, I don't know what to do. So I just screamed at him, it's my birthday.
So that's your defense.
Yes. And that was enough to snap him out of it to look at me. And I was like, it really is. Would you, don't throw yourself in front of a car on my birthday. Wait,
you used that yesterday.
Right.
And then you tackle him down.
We don't tackle, we don't touch. I never touched, but no, that was enough to get him to spin around and at least, break the cycle. Whereas he was like, what? It's his birthday, and he doesn't really care, but it was something different.
Yep.
Yeah. To
it
break him out of it.
triggered him to pause.
Yeah.
Interesting.
In your private practice, so someone's going to come. It's just you two.
Yep,
are you worried about anything? Maybe you don't have clients that are physically a danger.
Yeah.
But how would you sort of be able to protect yourself if that's the case?
No, that's a good question. And it's something that, I think about. If I'm going to meet somebody after hours, because I do evening hours a couple of nights a week, I'll tell my husband, this is the time of the session. This is the time it's ending. I'm going to text you as soon as it's over, and then I'm going to call you when I get in my car.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's what we do. I turn on all the lights in the building, and, so the best that you can. But I think that there's a level of danger in everything that you do. So pick your, what you're afraid of, and do your best to not make yourself a victim.
One of my jobs is real estate agent.
Oh, gosh.
And I actually had a property that I was selling. And there was an agent who contacted me, and she wanted to come see the property. And it was late at night. And it was Skinny Alice in the middle of nowhere, dark, no neighbors. I said, can you please bring someone with you?
Yeah.
Because it teaches her.
Sorry.
You okay?
It's like making noise every time I put my.
Oh, yeah, you're.
What is that noise? I don't understand that. Sorry.
I said, this might teach her to be more conscious of situations like this. There's a lot of predators out there who wait on dark times, and then the sun goes down.
And not related to your industry, anywhere you go.
Yeah, and they would call a realtor and be like, I want to see this house. And it's kind of like a predatory tactic. And so I wanted, for my safety, have someone with you, because I don't want something to happen and she says that I did something.
Right.
Yep.
And then you just only got to protect yourself also.
What's that?
You only got to protect yourself also if she's got someone with her.
You only have to run faster than them.
Right. Or you could kick her and then just step over.
I'm okay with that. I think our listeners know that I have capability of defending myself. So, and it's also teaches a good practice that have someone with you. You're going somewhere in the middle of nowhere. It's dark out there. You're, meeting another realtor you don't know, never met. It's good to, have someone with you. And my other job is I'm a contractor. And now I oversee projects instead of building and designing. But I had a client who is a psychiatrist, and his wife is a psychologist, and he had one more psychiatrist and another so 2 and 2. And
That's a lot of ists there.
that's what it is. And they got the commercial space. They were starting their own practice, and I actually designed the layout for them, including their rooms, safety in consideration.
Oh, really?
If there's an attacker, where should your desk be? Where is
Yes.
the door located? What floor are we on? Are there stairs? Where's the front desk? Like all these things came into consideration, and that's how I designed. So I think in
That's
your
smart.
practice, kind of see, you don't want the door behind your patient.
Right.
You want the door either to be on the side of you,
Yep.
or behind you.
That's what. So my husband is was in the military, so he
Oh,
he
so he's
served.
tactically
So-
aware.
Okay,
So
good.
he helped me. You
So
know.
he's a savory individual. he is a
There you
savory.
So when we were setting up the room, he said, he goes, well, the door is here.
Yeah.
Where
Okay,
do you
good.
want your chair? Where do you want their chair? And I said, well, it's equally as important for the individual to have access to the door as it is for me, because you don't want someone feeling vulnerable and being like, hey, and shut the door on them and
Yeah.
like, you're stuck now, but also the same thing. I want to be able to get to the door also,
Yeah.
so there really has to be a way to
surprised they're
figure it
not-
out.
Designed with the 2 doors,
Well, if you have space.
one each way.
Right. Well,
It's got to exit somewhere. Yeah.
This is a converted house, so it's really, it's
You get a
get where
trap door.
Yeah, you-
Just fucking. Pew, pew.
oh my god, with a slide.
Like a fireman pole or something.
See ya.
Fine, yeah.
Like a playground slide.
It makes a little
Twisty one,
noise.
maybe,
We even went as far as having trash cans specific size so that they can kick the trash can to get in their way
Wow.
to slow them down next to 2 seconds.
Okay.
Or whatever it takes.
Yeah.
It's a distraction too. Like, it's my birthday. And they're like, what?
Right.
If you kick the trash can on your way out, they're like,
Yeah,
distracted.
right. It's something to at least like interrupt the system or
Yes.
the situation. Yeah, when I was going into houses, you would go into all these different places. We had a buddy system, so we would check in, check out. You'd have to text someone when you got there, and you need to text them when you're safe in your car. And they knew how long your session was, and so then they would, if you didn't check in, they were calling the police.
Yep.
Because you were going into the individual's home, and that's
Yeah.
there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, you don't even know. I mean,
have no
aside from
idea.
their home, you don't know what's in their home.
Right.
You got the individual, but you don't know what you're
Correct.
environmentally walking into.
Right, what you're stepping into. Yeah. I had an individual, I went to their home to do a home visit, and kids are excited. They're excited to show you their spaces. They're excited so that kind of stuff really doesn't faze them. So, and I really believe that most people are good. And so they don't see things from the same perspective as like me or you going into like these like, oh, this is your house. And so he goes, come on out to our garage. And I said, okay. And his dad's like, well, I converted the garage in the back if you want to look through there. And it had those beads hanging down. And I go, yep. And I just like, great, that's great.
Yep.
It's a nice
Right.
room.
Right. Yeah. You got to be able to discern what the
Right. I'm not stepping into your murder room. I'm not going
your
to
lair. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's good situation awareness.
try
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
And I'm going to do a quick ad, and then we'll be right back, okay? I got some of the questions I want to ask. Are you hiding? You better be. Because with ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100+ job sites with just one click. Then their powerful technology efficiently matches the right people to your job, better than anyone else. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike the job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you, it finds them. In fact, over 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get qualified candidates in just 24 hours. No juggling emails or calls to your office. Simply screen, rate, and manage candidates all in one place with ZipRecruiter easy-to-use dashboard. Find out today what ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, our listeners can post job on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/podcast. That's ZipRecruiter.com/podcast. And one more time, ZipRecruiter.com/podcast. Thank you. So Nicole, when you started in 2011, you said, did you primarily started with kids, or did you have adults as well?
So primarily with kids as the like target individual, and then the families as well. So we would do individual care with the child, and then family therapy with them so if your child is taken out of the home and placed into a residential facility, they could be there for 6 months to a year. So life goes on, right, with them outside of the home. And it gets very, and you're removing something that, like, I don't want to, like, not a disruption, but something that was, they identified as a problem. The child was having significant issues to the point where they were removed from the home. So this family unit then reconstructs itself without this child present. No matter if you're doing visits there or not, without living in the home with somebody, like even when you go to live with somebody new, integrating them into your life is a difficult process. Sure. So creating the family unit without this identified individual and then having them come back in, there's a lot of animosity that comes with that. There's a lot of difficulties. There's a lot of blame that comes with that. And so trying to work that family out, because we call it recidivism. So the likelihood of them going back into care is really high for a period of time, like 6 months afterwards, because of that inability to reintegrate back into the school, where they're seen as a problem because they probably were an issue at the school, the home where they were seen as a problem, and the community because, they probably had run-ins with the police and all of those things. So we would do all of that work in order to help them be as successful as possible because, it's traumatic alone to be removed from your home. And then to feel like a failure, to then have it happen again, that's really difficult. So trying to make it successful and trying to help the family see that, like, nothing happens in a vacuum. When we say like the identified client or the child is the problem, really, where did it come from? Like as a family unit, how did you handle that? So as a family unit, you really all need to change to be able to reintegrate and be a success together, not just keep blaming, one person for something.
Mm-hmm.
So recidivism.
Yeah.
Right? After 6 months, is there a high likelihood that they don't return?
You know what? I don't have that.
Yeah, I don't know what you've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the longer that they like stay, if they're seeing success with anyone that, you see success, I believe that, you want more. So if I'm successful at something, then it makes me want to try harder. If I'm not successful at it, then screw it. Why am I going to hang out here and keep doing something that doesn't
where's the
feel
motivation?
Good? Right.
Yeah.
So I think that like that builds. And so the more that you can help people to see that something as a success, even if it's small, point it out to them, because people are really discount small things. Okay. Well, it's not big enough. It's not meaningful. But when someone else points it out to them and like, well, I can see it as a success. I think that helps highlight it for people. And like, okay, so now we can build from here. It doesn't have to be a giant leap. It can be a small stepping stone.
In most cases, it probably is, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes smaller things have bigger effects.
Sometimes they do. Yeah.
Roman would know that. Sorry, I had
this is what
it was right there, so you had to.
He cracks the door, but I just kick it right in.
he SWAT teams that. This is why I need therapy after.
Are you part of a program? I guess what you do, or what you did, or what you're going to do now. If there's people removed from a home, how's the family life work? I mean, a kid's removed from their parents, and they're living somewhere else. Do the parents get to see that child? Like, how's that all work? Or
so this is all like past, right? So I'm not doing this these days. Okay. But yes, that's part of it, and it really should be to go and visit. Yeah. They should. A lot of times, that's not an earned thing, to my knowledge, to have the family come to the child. It is usually an earned thing to go the child to go and stay at the home.
I see.
So they have to get like a certain level.
Like a reward.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. By not, doing certain things, breaking rules at this place where, they've got all these workers and all these rules, and it's very controlled, to then send them back into an environment that is so less controlled and then be like, see ya, and expect them to not lose it. Mm-hmm. That would be silly to set someone up for failure, in my opinion, and I believe their opinion too. So the family is allowed to come and visit, and they should. Mm-hmm. And they should engage in family therapy while the child is there in that controlled environment, in my opinion. But the family, they have a choice. Like, where you can't make someone do something. But to the highest level of success is when the family buys in as a unit.
Okay.
And so when you left that job, did you see more teenager, young adults?
Yep, I saw right around 13, 14 was the...
What year was that?
Oh, gosh. That had to be 2012, 13.
Okay. So I was trying to kind of narrow down with the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm kind of still seeing like a ripple effects
Yeah.
from the pandemic. And I wanted to ask you if you've had, would you call them patients or clients?
Call them clients.
Clients?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you have clients of young adult age, have you seen an effect from pandemic and how they're responding and reacting to this
I think
today?
So it's my opinion, and I don't think it's just reserved for young adults. I think that, like, across the board, we're seeing individuals really get comfortable with being safe. Having to, like, and so I really cannot get behind this narrative in mental health when we talk about I have to protect my mental health. And I wonder, what are you protecting? Because mental health isn't something that should be protected. It's something that should be challenged. If you want to talk about mental health as a muscle, that's how I view it. So if you go to the gym and you're picking up 5-pound weights and you're doing the reps, but it's not doing anything, right? Because it's not challenging to you. So you're going to pick up something heavy enough to make you make that ugly face, when you're doing it. That's how you build muscle. It's the same thing that with your brain. We call it neuroplasticity. It means that your brain can grow, but it also can shrink when it comes to these different things. So if you challenge yourself, then there's growth. So by doing something that makes you uncomfortable, like getting out of your comfort zone, going out and meeting new people, talking to people that challenge your view rather than people that just repeat the same thing that you do and never make you feel like you have to be able to manage yourself in uncomfortable positions, then you're not going to grow. You're going to either stay the same or you're going to shrink back. And that's what I've been seeing with mental health, and especially with anxiety, is people use it as a shield. I have anxiety, so I can't. But what you really should be saying is, I feel anxious, and so I don't want to. That makes me feel uncomfortable, or it's hard. And so I don't want to do this thing that makes me feel uncomfortable. But the reality of the situation is that, especially with anxiety and with most things, that discomfort is what helps you grow. And then you prove to yourself that you're fine. Yeah. And then you can do something even harder next time because you have the evidence from the previous time that said, like, yeah, I was uncomfortable and I didn't feel good in it, but look what I did and I'm fine and now I'm successful in this sense.
The reason why I used that age group is because kids who had that social disconnect, would you agree we're creatures of we need to socialize?
Absolutely.
We're not, what's the term? Introvert?
Well, I think people are introverted. We're not like, what do you do when you don't have interaction with people? You become
isolated.
When you prefer to be alone and not surrounded.
Yeah, and isolate. Someone's isolated. Yeah, that's not good for you.
Right. So we're opposite of that. And during the pandemic.
Feral. We're not feral.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I don't think that's the word you're going.
It's a word. I saw it on Naked and Afraid. Yeah.
so you thought it would apply here?
Right, I'm just throwing it out there, hoping that I'm right with something.
And so they were disconnected from that, and now they're. I don't want to say victims, but they were the age group that was affected by that.
Well, I think it was a disservice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how they are coping with that today, and if that disconnect for 2 years, some places are different. If they are already out of that, or have they already coped with it and they moved on, have they learned something from that, or till this day they still have an issue? So I'm just wondering if
If I have insight to that.
Yeah, like I just want to get your opinion, or maybe you have clients that you're still working with, trying to help them out with that.
Yeah, I think that it's very individualized, right? Some people handle things better than other people, and that's normal. You know, everyone deals with things differently. I think that it was a disservice. We never should have taken kids and put them and isolated them and put them in these boxes for any amount of time, especially for the amount of time that we did. And I think that it was silly to think that it wasn't going to have an effect on them emotionally, socially, and that, you know, now that we're reaping what we sowed from that, you know, I would hope that it informs future decisions. That would be my hope.
Yeah. Because the suicide in that age group also went up.
Right. And it's outrageous, you know, for people. So when you talk about being in prison and like, oh, it's you know, inhumane to put people in isolation. Well,
even adults go crazy, right?
Exactly.
In solitary
confinement. In solitary confinement. We are pack animals. Yeah. You know, so when you talk about individuals being outside of that pack, it's not good for them. Just like wolves, you know,
Frank's the Mowgli and I'm the wolf.
What was that word you used against me?
What was that?
Mowgli?
I don't know that one.
What the hell's a Mowgli?
The cartoon, Mowgli. The kid that was abandoned.
Mowgli. Yes.
Yeah. So he's that kid and I'm the wolf.
Oh, I'm an adult.
From Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
You
catch you off guard.
Mowgli. I'm like, all right. Mowgli.
Yeah, the kid that was abandoned in the
I didn't watch that.
Got lost and the wolves raised him.
I'm a red-blooded
Jungle
male.
Book.
I didn't watch that. I didn't read it or nothing.
You know, reader.
It's like
None of that
Tarzan.
nonsense.
Okay, I understand Tarzan. He was okay,
Oh, there you go. Now he's got it.
Playing my Viking heritage. I wrote the book, all right?
You're Tarzan, I'm Jane.
Yeah. Okay, you could be Jane. Man.
Anyway.
I was just thinking about loincloth and like all these things. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it.
I'm going to bring it up, but I don't want to talk about it.
We're pack animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so to separate kids, especially kids, you know, they really are informed by their peers around that age. They do a lot of, you know, that's when they pull away from parents and they start seeking that validation and they seek out, you know, the group dynamics of their peers. And so without that, and I think that, you know, as when I say pack animals, you know, if you look at a pack of dogs and they straighten each other out, you know, one that isn't acting right, you know, they get them in line. And there's similar things that I think that, you know, we can learn from that with people. You know, when someone is acting, you know, off, they're not quite getting with the groove. Should we invite them in and be like, oh, it's okay. You know, we'll just, no, you have to, there's social norms that you have to adhere to in order to be a part of society. So you need to learn in order to be a part of that. So when we aren't integrated into that social environment, when you can pick and choose which groups that you only interact with. So if I'm online doing online learning and I only interact with people that share my viewpoints, I only interact with people that make me feel comfortable, then I'm never challenged outside of the ideas that I have in my mind. Well, that's not good for you because all that tells you is that you are 100% right in all of your thoughts and ideas, but you're not.
And then you can't cope when
someone challenges
right,
you.
yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing a lot in the colleges. In the environments where, you know, a professor or even the job market, when your boss comes down on you and says, you know, this isn't right. And then they say, you know, oh, you're treating me poorly. I feel like a victim or you're unsafe and all of these buzzwords that we use. And the reality is that they're not. You feel uncomfortable and your feelings about it are your feelings to manage. They're not someone else's. So you're angry, so you're going to throw it at somebody else, and then they're supposed to absorb your anger. Well, that's not for them to absorb. That's for you to figure out, you to sit with that emotion and wonder, why am I angry? Or even just feel it and then move through it without having to solve it.
Or maybe have a discussion about it.
Absolutely.
Like,
if you're capable.
Well, and we talk about it all the time. It's okay to disagree. Everybody, in fact, probably should disagree on something.
Yeah.
But it's the reaction it's how you react to the disagreement that, you know, people don't have to get so upset if you don't agree with them.
Right.
Like, let's just have the discussion and talk about it.
Right.
You know, politically or not, whatever we're talking about.
Yeah, whatever the discussion is. And I think that, you know, the idea that I have to be validated in everything that I say and do, then that's not mental health. that's you trying to protect something.
That's appeasement.
Right. Well, yes, that's a good word for it. That's appeasement. And what you should have is self-assuredness to stand and say, this is my opinion. This is why I feel that way. And, you don't have to clap for me. You don't have to agree with me, but I believe in myself enough to withhold that opinion. And if I don't, if you make me feel uncomfortable, well, then that's for me to explore why your words challenge me. And now I felt, like I needed to get a little bit nasty. What is that? Well, then it must be that I don't really believe everything that I hold. And so that's a time for me to challenge my own beliefs, not for you to have to hold my anger.
And you can change your mind. It's okay to change your mind.
I would hope you would.
Exactly.
Individuals' denial of that keeps them from accepting it.
Yes.
So if they deny that the existence of that feeling or processing, or then how can they accept that, right? Like then we start early. We talked about how people suppressed feelings. So if they're wrong about something, people get defensive.
Yeah.
Right. They don't want to admit that they're wrong, or they don't know something. Some people would make stuff up just to sound like they know what they're talking about, but they don't.
Right.
And it's because they don't have it in them to say, I don't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what you're saying, sometimes if they're not willing to accept that, then they will be on the defensive side all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I used to say to people, if I make a decision and I strongly believe in the decision that I've made, even if you challenge me, or if I'm wrong, I'm okay with that.
Right.
But if I am unsure and I'm wishy-washy in the decision that I've made and someone challenges me or it goes off the rails, and then that's when I'm most angry because I wasn't sure in my, that, and I can tell, well, then clearly that's a me issue.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be me throwing that at somebody else and making it their problem, because it's not their problem. It's mine.
I like when somebody can point out I'm wrong, because I get to learn from that. Because if I'm wrong and nobody's correcting me.
So he learns a shitload on this podcast.
I said it before on, I don't remember what episode it was, but I'm a curious person. I have curiosity in things that trigger my attention.
Yes.
So I could be, anything. I'll say something online and somebody's flying a plane and I'm like, oh, I'm curious. Can I fly a plane? I don't know how to fly a plane. Well, what does it take? And then I go into this like rabbit hole. I had LASIK surgery scheduled to do for my eyes. I used to wear glasses. And I was curious. I'm like, well, what's the process? Like, how does this work?
You looked into it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, big
look,
time.
get it? See the pun there?
There you go.
With 4 eyes. Yeah, I spent hours watching videos. I started watching surgeries that are not even related to my problem. It was just other surgeries on eyes, and it was just one curiosity after another.
Okay, yeah.
This is interesting. There was one video that I watched that described the entire process, exactly what I felt, smelled, saw.
Oh, so you'd already experienced it and you were going back and watching videos?
No. I watched the videos, what the surgery will be. And I went into that rabbit hole.
So you've had LASIK surgery, though?
I already had the surgery.
Right.
Okay.
So one of the videos that I watched, and this girl described the entire process of how she felt, what she saw, what she could smell. And when I was getting that surgery, it was as if her voice is playing in my ear.
You had the same exact
everything
experience.
what she said.
Did that comfort you, like to know what was coming next and like she was okay, so I'm going to be okay?
It was, that video was playing in my head. And like I knew what the next step is going to be.
Okay.
So it's mentally I was ready.
Yes, prepared.
And
yes.
then when that checked out, I'm like, ooh, that was correct. Next, I can smell the burning.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, like, well, because the laser has to
The
reshape.
same thing doesn't apply for colonoscopy, by the way.
Well, you'll tell me later.
Okay, sure. I'll let you know.
But yeah, so I think person has to be curious and willing to accept when they are right or wrong.
Yes.
And willing to accept. And the other person's job is also not to be aggressive.
Yes.
I think the person who wants to point out, like, you're an idiot. That's not the approach.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
That's interesting.
Yeah, the personal attacks are really just
Yeah.
Right.
I have some workers who just can't stop talking about politics, and it drives me crazy. And I would say, that's interesting. Explain that to me. And they can, because they're just repeating something they've
Right.
heard.
Right. There's no depth to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, quick break. I have a question about online
Okay.
things, and then we'll get right back into it.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
Okay, so do you see any trends on the internet that, social media primarily, I would say, that affect how psychology is practiced with patients? Oh, clients.
Clients. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I bet there's bullshit out there.
There's what I really don't care for is this. There's like this pop culture, and I think it happens with everything. But I think it's especially not helpful with mental health, where everyone is self-diagnosing. I have ADHD. Or, do you have ADHD, or are you just distractible? Because that's a symptom of ADHD, just like a dog, is a mammal, but just because you're a mammal doesn't make you a dog. So just because you are distractible or you have distraction doesn't mean you have ADHD. I am uncomfortable in this social, situation. So I have social anxiety. Not really. There's.
Can you move the mic just
Sorry.
a little bit?
Yep.
Yeah. There you go.
And so I think that people are getting really comfortable with making diagnosis their entire identity. And I don't like that, because a diagnosis is meant for the therapist, the people that are helping the individual. I think you look at the DSM-5 and it's a breakdown that you have to have. There could be like 8 criteria, and the individual needs to meet 5 of them, say, in order to qualify for the diagnosis. Realistically, a diagnosis is so that the therapist, psychiatrist, whoever is treating that individual has like better knowledge of what they're going through, and for the insurance company to bill. That's what it's for.
It's interesting you sort of, describe it that way, because you've got these people that we talk about that now they're self-diagnosing.
Yeah.
And they are probably some of the same people that are not receptive to having their opinions changed. So now they come to you, or you have to sort of treat them for this issue that is really not an issue, but there's all these things sort of in the middle that contributed to now becoming an issue.
Right. I have this. I am, I have this. I know I am.
Like WebMD. Just
Right.
get rid of that. Close that down.
Right. Close it down.
That one's not too bad, actually.
Oh, God.
Or, naming everyone, you did something that I didn't like, and so that makes you a narcissist. And so we're almost weaponizing mental health against other people, and we're using it as a shield so that people can't challenge you. You can't challenge me. You can't make me do something because I have social anxiety, and so I shouldn't have to do X, Y, or Z. But realistically, mental health, like I said, mental health, it should be about building capacity. It should be about, because life isn't going to stop and wait for you to be ready for it. It's coming at you, whether you like it or not. And it's going to hand you a challenge, and it's going to say, figure it out. And you can either cave into yourself and, make it into a crisis, or you can use it as a learning experience and say, what can I do? Can I meet this head on? And yeah, you might set you back, and you might stumble a little bit, but the ability to walk into a challenge and say, I'm okay, that's mental strength. That's mental health. That's that ability to then take it one step further and say, next time when something comes, because it's going to again, I'm going to be that much more prepared. And the idea, and I always believe that people shouldn't be with me for long term as far as a client. You should be with me until we have come to a point where you have built capacity, where you feel comfortable in when challenges come at you, and you feel self-assured and confident in your ability to make the decisions for yourself. Like that you don't need to come and check with somebody. Like, am I doing the right thing? Because one, it's not my job to tell you you're doing the right thing. It's their job to figure out what's best for them. That would be weird for me to control someone's life and be like, you're doing the wrong thing. You shouldn't date that person. That's none of my business.
You just kind of guide them and then they...
Right. And then they make the decision and then we figure it out. Either it's a good decision or it's a bad decision and the chips fall where they may and we figure it out from there. But that's a learning experience too. Sometimes we walk into things and they go completely sideways. And what are you going to take from that? Because you can crumble or you can rise to it. And the idea behind mental health, in my opinion, is you should be ready to rise.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting. You bring up the analogy earlier of lifting weights.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with a mental muscle.
Right.
You got to be broken down to build up from there.
Right. Yep.
Actually, I think that you get some kind of a dopamine from exercise.
You do.
Mm-hmm. Because you feel better.
Yes.
Like if I worked out or did a run or whatever, like I feel positive. I feel better. Like I feel like I'll be more productive today.
Yeah.
So if I'm feeling lazy, couch potato, I'm like, all right, Rome, get your ass up, go do something.
Yes.
Well, and just to clarify, that's okay also.
Yeah.
To be a couch potato.
Or you can stand up and that's an exercise and then sit back down.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I think that,
20 times.
you call it 20 squats, you're good to go. You're good to go. But there is something to be said about, and I call it the brain-body connection. And that, not just me, a lot of people call it that. That your brain and your body are not disconnected. They are one and the same. And the way that you feel internally, it helps your mental health, and your mental health talks to your body. Have you ever gone to yourself, like all of a sudden, your stomach turns and you go, oh no, I don't feel good. And you keep repeating that yourself again and again and again. I'm going to throw up, I'm going to be sick. And pretty soon you're like getting that feeling and you're like, oh, this is it. Or, so you can talk yourself into it, or you can say to yourself, I don't think so. I think I felt that before. And I think I just, my stomach just turned and I'm going to be fine. I'm going to make it to this meeting. It's going to be okay. And pretty soon it settles and you are okay. Mm-hmm. So and you do the same thing. I'm sleepy, I'm tired. And pretty soon you're like, you can't keep your eyes open, or it's like, no, I'm fine. Let's just get moving and get going. The stories that we tell ourselves, the things that we repeat to ourselves, they matter. And so your brain and your body are connected completely. So exercise, I believe there's a study out that talks about the connection between depression, anxiety, and exercise. Mm-hmm. And have you read that or heard of it?
Yes, because a family member suffers from depression.
Yeah.
It has gotten much better now. And one of the suggestions was to exercise, and how the exercise can help your mind kind of change the thoughts, the negative thoughts that causing your anxiety.
Yeah.
And I looked more into it.
Yeah.
And there's a positive effect, not only on your physical health, but also on your mental health.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that not only the physical exercise, but I would sometimes get that feeling when I help somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Like somebody was struggling, and then I helped that person out. Doesn't have to be their life was in danger, like I saved somebody's life or anything, but just, I don't know, say in my martial art class, one of the students is just struggling, just doesn't get it. And then I help them out, and they're like, oh, thank you so much for explaining that. And I'm like, I feel good.
Yes.
So I tell my son sometimes, do some little good deeds. It's good.
It helps, and it makes you feel good, right?
Yeah, it makes you feel good. Yeah. Don't expect a reward. The reward is how you feel after.
That's right.
You know? And sometimes we'll do these things, we'll play around, and it's just, we'll say hello to random people.
Yeah.
And it's like, he goes, okay, your turn. Like we're walking to a dome to watch a game, and while we're walking, you'd be like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah. Well, that's actually, that I used to do when I did group therapy. That was one of the things I would talk about with the kids. It is a positive impact on your mental health to do something for someone else and on theirs. Mm-hmm. And then it has a ripple effect too, because once you've impacted someone positively, it's, they see the good in that moment, and it increases the likelihood that they will then go and do something kind for someone else. Mm-hmm. So that first step, and it's not selfish to say, I get something out of this. Like, right? It feels good to help other people out. It should. Yeah. And I think that's part of like the whole cycle of it. It should feel good to help other people and to watch someone be successful, especially when you've had, had a hand in that. That's great.
I try to teach my son to be positive towards people that are successful. And when we've talked about, well, what's the measurement of success? And everyone has different level of measurement success, right? And when you encourage somebody to be successful, even if they're becoming more successful than you are, say financially, and if you're just happy for them and you support them, what harm in that?
Right.
But there are people who like, oh, I hate that guy, or oh, I can't believe like he's doing so well. We went to the same school together. His grades were worse than mine. Why is he doing better? So there's this anger, right? Resentment. Yeah. But if you change your attitude, and then that person might feel closer. There's got to be some kind of energy. Like they'll feel closer to you. They won't feel that pushback. Maybe not verbal, but sometimes you feel it. There's a vibe, and maybe because they're friendly with you and they don't feel because they probably hear that from other people. And when close friends or family say the same things, it hurts them differently, right? But if they feel comfortable and positive, maybe something good will come out of that for you who is not doing so well. And I like to support my friends or anybody around me who is doing great. I'm like, I'm so happy for you, man. Like when I see my friends are happy, like, or they started their business and they were super nervous and now they're doing better than expected, I'm always there to say, I'm so happy. It's amazing to see from where you were to where you are now.
Right.
So happy for you. I hope you keep growing.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's nice to hear that from other people, that what you're doing is noticed by those around you.
And does it take that much to say that?
Right. Right. No, it costs you nothing to be kind to somebody.
And there's so much more to be negative. So much more energy to this is a good, so I'm not going to swear. I was going to say, I had some choice words. Like, you don't want to be that person. But I'm saying, like, I'm being adult here. Oh, but, and like you are. You said it's much more energy to be negative than positive.
Oh yeah, and it takes from you when you're negative. To go down that negativity road. It really pulls you right along with it. You're negative to somebody else, but your attitude shifts in that direction. And I think it's better for you. It's better for everybody to try your best to have a positive attitude towards people.
When you said earlier that my client should not be always seeing me like long term. Yeah. I was going to ask, do you have clients who will contact you when they need you?
Yeah.
Need your service?
So like a check-in kind of thing. Once you discharge, the door should try and keep the door open and say like, if you need just like a refresh, that's cool. Give me a call. It's no problem. And then if it turns into more because they're struggling through a situation, that's fine. You try and like work them into the schedule. But there's no problem with like, touching base again with somebody. If you're like, you hit a rough patch and you just need some reassurance for it, like, I think I've got this, but let me just check in. That's cool. I think that's good. Yeah.
Like, so they're doing better. You haven't heard from them in a year. And then, I don't know, maybe something happened, death in the family or whatever. And they're like, oh, I really need to talk to somebody.
Yeah. It shakes them up. Yep.
Yeah. So it's, and you would accept clients like that. Like, it's okay, one-time visit or...
Sure, yeah. Yep.
That's good. Something else I want to ask. Oh, well, this is a thought I had. But do you see somebody when you need them, like for yourself?
Or do you just talk to yourself?
Do you see another psychologist?
I don't at this time, but I would be open to it if I needed to, to talk to somebody. I have a really good network. My husband is like the most supportive person. He actually is working 2 jobs right now because I opened my practice and it's still still not quite there yet. So he picked up a second job to make
Great
ends
support.
meet. It's wonderful, and for him to do that is, extremely selfless. And he hasn't once doubted me. He's the biggest cheerleader.
That's awesome.
So I have that. My parents are extremely supportive. We have a really tight friends group that is also, so I have a lot of people to turn to. So I don't feel like I need that at this time, but I would be open to it if I needed to.
So the client who I built the practice for, he wanted to separate time for doctors, police officers, firefighters, other psychologists or psychiatrists who might be dealing with things that people don't think that they might also need counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're the ones who are first in line to help.
Right.
We know what soldiers go through.
Mm-hmm.
Your husband, I have a brother who suffered from it. And we dismiss, like yourself or firefighters or police officers, that you guys also suffer some trauma. Like you could have a client someday and hear the worst story that probably will bring you to tears or give you nightmares. And you're like, I can't believe it. And if you can't process it, maybe you need to talk to somebody.
Right. Yeah, because this job is unique in the sense that you can't share that with other people. So I can't go to my husband and tell him how my day was because it's none of his business.
Right.
It's the other people that come to me. There's confidentiality and I cannot share their stories, nor should I. You're coming to someone and you're divulging information that you might have never told anybody. And so it's none of his business. And it's, nobody in my life's business to know. So I cannot go to them and just say, oh, I had a terrible day today and let me tell you about it.
But you can go to a professional.
But you can go to a professional.
Right.
That's
kind of what I'm saying. Like, are your confidentiality same as HIPAA?
Yes, we follow HIPAA.
HIPAA?
Yep, HIPAA compliance. And in fact, there's there's always things that I tell people that when I first see them because they're different and they wouldn't expect it. So if I'm out in public and you're my client and I see you, I will not acknowledge you. And I tell them that. And I'll
that's
say,
nice to do up front, sure.
I will not acknowledge you. And it's not because I don't like you. It's because you should not have to explain who I am to whoever you're with.
That's right.
But you can come to me and start the conversation. So if you approach me and you say, hey, Nicole, how's it going? Then I'll talk to you gladly. But otherwise, I'm going to pretend I've never seen you before in my life.
Or they'll be like,
good.
Oh, that's my psychologist.
Right. Yeah. And some people are very open and other people are like, absolutely not.
But that's good that you're very strict with that. And it's probably hard. Have there been the days you wanted to come home and share with your husband and just get it off your chest?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some things that I share, I wouldn't ever share. But when I was in the school, I'd be like, oh man, I caught this chair today. I was this close.
Yeah.
Actually, in real estate, there's also client confidentiality that we as realtors cannot share.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have to take it to the grave.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what kind of information?
Well, say for example, my client says that in this home, we had family death.
Oh, a seller.
Yeah, my client, they're a seller.
Yeah.
And they're like, but that's between you and me, and you can't share that.
But if they didn't say it's between you and me, you could share it?
No, but it's automatically when we sign a disclosure form. So New York State requires us to sign a disclosure form with our clients. And in that disclosure form, that I would represent them for their best
Their best interest.
best interest, and I do my due diligence to represent them fairly. There's we also have to follow equal housing rights. Cannot discriminate. I cannot tell you, don't buy a house there. That's a bad neighborhood. Buy it here. Like I can't say that kind of stuff. I can't, like, I had clients who would be like, oh, can you only rent to these people, but don't rent to them? I'm like, I can't.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I can't do that. Then I'm not a guy for you. Like, you'd be surprised the crazy stuff people say. But yeah, there are things that I just cannot share, even to my wife or anybody close.
I had no idea. No.
Yeah. So realtors.
But you can share it on the podcast.
Because this is different.
Right. This
This
not
is
your own-
professional.
It's no one you know.
Service.
Right. It's no one you know, right? You just can't share with people you know.
Well, I don't know. I think this is a lot of valuable information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I like to talk about stuff like this because I'm curious.
I think curiosity, that's one of the best, forms of, I don't know what I'm saying, so.
You need more blood orange.
Yeah, your beer's getting warm.
I see that.
We definitely appreciate being here, and I know that like I said,
This was your first time. Did you have butterflies that you're like, oh man, I got to do this podcast with these guys?
Yeah, I did. Yep,
that's
I
what
was
you should talk about
nervous.
earlier. Like, I'm gonna vomit. I got to
Stressed,
talk to these assholes.
Right? I can't believe it.
But yeah, if there's anything else that we haven't touched on or you wanted to talk about, we can now. If not, it'd be great to make a plug now and maybe let people know how to find you. And we'll also put this in the description. But if anybody locally, or would you take like a phone call or it has to be in person?
Oh, you do
Telehealth.
Yeah.
Yep. So I do telehealth. If that's what you're asking.
Well, I wasn't sure if now as a private practice, like your own practice, if you do that.
Yes.
You do that. Okay.
Yep. I do telehealth as well as in-person appointments. I prefer in-person appointments, and I think that it's valuable. There's a sense of being across the table from somebody. I think you miss out on body language, and there's like something lost with telehealth. But the convenience of it, I totally get. People can't always get off of work, every week or every other week. That's tough. That's a big ask. So sometimes telehealth, working it in, and I'm flexible with that. You want to do in-person one week and telehealth the next. That's okay. We can do that.
We feel the same way with the podcast. We love when people can come to the studio.
Yeah.
There are times when we actually would go there. Like we can.
It's that important. Yeah.
We can take this podcast mobile. Like we have
Nice.
2 setups. But there are situations when we can. We got to do this through Zoom.
Sure.
But you lose the connection.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, well, thank you for coming. And you don't remember the address. But
Well, you got a website and you got email.
So they can, if they want to, go on to Facebook. I'm Illuminate Counseling Creative Arts Therapy on Facebook. Also, if you just Google Nicole Lawrence Therapy Baldwinsville, my Psychology Today profile will come up. And that's a really good way to reach me. It's got, you can take my phone number from there as well as a direct email link. Email is probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. Phone calls are tough to take like right on, on the cusp because I might be doing something and I can't take all your information. So shoot an email. I will schedule a free 15-minute phone call and we'll see if we're a good fit and we'll go from there.
Perfect.
and we'll have that in the description as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you again, Nicole. And
Thank
we
you so
want to
much.
thank all our listeners and followers again. I want to mention the 4,000 follower giveaway on Instagram.
No.
What?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry. See, I was wrong. I just admitted. See, you helped me grow here.
There's look at that growth.
When I grab your
Is it
hand,
just
you cannot
his
shun
hand?
me away.
You wanted the full lace. You wanted.
No, I was thinking some other number. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, we're still doing 4,000 followers giveaway on Instagram.
Yeah.
So we're almost halfway there.
What? No, I got to call bullshit on that. We're more than halfway. We're at 3,500.
That's halfway to 4,000.
Oh, that's 500 away.
Okay.
We did a giveaway at 3,000.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's
But
okay.
that's still not halfway. 2,000 would be halfway to 4,000.
No.
Come on, Nicole.
3,500. You need 500 more to 4,000. That's halfway.
Oh, I see. From 3,000
To 4,000.
You need
We
it.
did a giveaway at 3,000. You know what? I've proved them wrong in math. many times on this podcast.
But not this one.
Nothing to prove.
Half of 4,000 is not 3,500. I'll guarantee that.
Obviously, I said we're halfway there to 4,000 from 3,500.
Listen, I didn't know the numbers, and I gotta go with him on this one. I didn't know the intricacy of.
From 3,000 to 4,000, we're halfway there.
Okay, that's right.
Okay.
When you say that word, you're right.
We're over that. Listen, thank you for listening
Yes,
to us
thanks,
on
everybody.
Hopped Up Network, and we appreciate everyone. And of course, thank you, Nicole, for
Thank
coming
you
in.
so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.